Hey, what's going on, guys? It's the Short Sports Show. I'm your host, Daniel Short. Today is Friday, March 7th, 2014. And today is going to be a really good show. We got a lot of things to talk about. We're going to go across the league, across the country. News to talk about. We'll even talk about NBA today, which is going to be probably the first for this show. Barely talked about the NBA throughout the season, but we're getting closer and closer to playoff push and all the other good stuff. So anyways, we got that to talk about, some college football news going around the country, and also the NFL free agency. It's heating up, possible trades that could happen, surprising players getting cut, salary cap issues, and also where's Michael Vick going to go? And we'll talk about that today. And there's other news. Also, this show is going to take its, second milestone. The first milestone was, obviously being partnered with iHeartRadio, which if you are listening to, let me know by getting that, clicking that like button on iHeartRadio. Let me know you're listening over there. And also, today, we will hit 1,000 total listeners, which is going to be amazing. That all that good stuff. That's good news. So we're going to continue going that. First, we're going to talk about some college football news. And just coming in right now is Nebraska and head coach Bo Pelini agreed to a 1-year extension that will keep him through the 2018 season. And to me, this is a little shocking because of all the controversy that's happened last season with, him having that press conference saying, if they're going to fire me, just do it already. His discussions on, whether he really wants to stay there. Is he fully committed to Nebraska? And also just the fan base, does he really like Nebraska at all? Saying things about the fans staying longer at games and all sorts of just confrontations that have just happened. And for them to give him a 1-year extension that will now keep him through 2018, to me is a little shocking. And, with this kind of, they haven't had too many struggles at Nebraska being in the Big Ten now, but I don't know. I would feel like they would just let the contract run out, or in case he does something stupid, and just fire him afterwards. But that is interesting to see. Nebraska does keep him to a 1-year extension. Clemson has some bad news going out, and they have suspended starters Corey Crawford, David Beasley, Gary Peters, and Shaq Anthony for the season opener against Georgia for team rules violations. Tigers coach Dabo Swinney announced Tuesday. And the biggest loss out of all that is Corey Crawford at defensive end, had 10.5 tackles, for loss and 3 sacks at 12 starts at the defensive end position. And, losing some players and that Clemson's going to already have lost on offense with obviously Taj Boyd, Sammy Watkins, and I believe one of the running backs are also out. Now having, 4 other starters, these are starter players, going to be out for the season opener, especially against a Georgia team that's also kind of, not saying rebuilding, but losing some players. But this is, a game that the Tigers need to win. And especially because, the polls are going to be looking at them, probably dropping them a little bit lower because of knowing how many players they're going to have to, that they're going to have again to replace, is what I'm trying to say. And, they're going to have them pretty low in the rankings, and of dropping this game could say, well, maybe this isn't the same Clemson team. Obviously, it's not the same Clemson team, but is this going to be enough to keep them up in the rankings where Clemson needs to be? But I believe Dabo Swinney is going to do his job. He's a really, really good coach, one of my favorite coaches in college football, and I believe he'll be able to get the job done. But it is bad news for them to have to suspend 4 players, including starters. That's a major issue right there. Another suspension, well, this is actually a dismissal, and that's Texas A&M redshirt safety Cameron Miles has been dismissed from the team, announced yesterday. There was no reason why he was dismissed, but Miles is a ESPN 300 top recruit, and he came out on Twitter saying, "My actions do not reflect my character. I made a mistake, and I fully accept the responsibility and consequences of my actions. Aggie always." And then he also went on to say, "I want to issue an apology to Coach Sumlin and the coaching staff, to my teammates and my family." And that's about it. He was rated the 13th best safety in the country and a number 1 safety in the state of Texas in the 2013 recruiting class. And, you know, he had to do something for just a redshirt freshman to just be kicked off. I mean, he's basically still a true freshman because he was a class of 2013. So, I mean, you had to do something really, really bad to just automatically just be dismissed, kicked off the team like that. I mean, especially Coach Sumlin, you know, he'll let some things probably slide by. I mean, obviously with having Johnny Manziel as a star, but Coach Sumlin is obviously a respectable top coach in the nation, and for him to just tell a freshman right away, you know, that he made whatever his mistake was, to just be kicked off the team just like that, it's got to be something bad. And that's not really a good way for Cameron Miles to get his college, you know, experience started. Other news is Ohio State safety Von Bell suffered an MCL injury Tuesday and will miss the remainder of spring practice. After undergoing surgery Thursday, Bell is expected to be cleared to resume working out at full speed in May, but Ohio State is having issues at safety, now leaving them with 2 safeties on the roster to be able to play. So look for Ohio State to be switching players from offense to defense and some cornerbacks to be going to safety, because with only 2 safeties now, and Von Bell being the overall favorite to be the main starter, this is going to hurt Ohio State at depth right now. Other news, Missouri and head coach Gary Pinkel have agreed to a contract that will pay him $3.1 annually. He led the Tigers to the SEC championship game last season, and seems like a pretty good head coach. Obviously, what he's done for the Tigers, and you know, paying him $3 million is, you know, I mean, he did it with a pretty solid team, but will he be able to have the same success for Missouri? It's a little bit of a stretch. I like their quarterback, Matty Monk. If I said his last name right, he's a pretty good solid starter. I just said pretty good and solid. Those are 2 complete different things. So I'm going to try to rephrase that statement and take it back real quick. He's a solid starter. He did a solid quarterback. Did a good job taking over for James Franklin when he got hurt. I like James Franklin. I'm kind of sad that he had to get hurt. Couldn't help his draft stock. Not saying he could have been a really good top quarterback or anything, but you know, would have been nice to see him do some work for them. But they gave Monk. I believe I'm saying his last name right. But anyways, this guy, I believe, was a freshman last year and should do a pretty good job fitting in for the Tigers, taking over as a starter and doing good work for them. I see about 8 or 9 wins for them. I don't think an SEC championship is Missouri's way once again, but it should be interesting to see how that goes. Also yesterday, the 2014 College Football Hall of Fame ballot was announced, including Brian Bosworth, Derek Thomas, Tim Couch, who I do not like, and I'll explain that in just a little bit, Eric Dickerson, Keyshawn Johnson, Ray Lewis, Warren Sapp, LaDainian Tomlinson. Of course, LaDainian Tomlinson's got to be in there. Ricky Williams, Zach Thomas, and Randall Cunningham, and many more. It was a list of 75 players. And the reason I want to talk about Tim Couch is because quarterback in Nebraska won the Heisman the same year LaDainian Tomlinson from my TCU school should have won it. LaDainian Tomlinson rushed for, I believe, almost 2,000 yards at TCU, led the team to a 12-1 record, and obviously was the top running back. I think it was the same year he even broke the record and still maintains that record at 406 yards, rushing yards in a single game against UTEP. Anyways, should have been LT's year. Obviously, he was the better player, not only in college and in the pros, but Tim Couch won it over him, which was, just, we need better evaluators at this Heisman thing. If they want, just give me a call. I'll be down there to help them because LT should have won it, and I will never get over that. LT, you're still a Heisman for us. But anyways, that is just some of the players that were announced I mean, all of them were announced, but these were, the main stars out here. But I really hope LT does get in. That'll be awesome to see. But I mean, there's a lot of names on here that all deserve, and I didn't really check what is the limit to how many people are going to get in. But I really hope LaDainian Tomlinson gets in. But be interesting to see if Ricky Williams gets in. He deserves it for what he did at college at UT. But state of mind right now, where is he at? And is he able to give a speech up there in front of everybody? Should be interesting, but we will see. That is an awesome, awesome list for the 2014 College Football Hall of Fame. And also, the college football is taking steps towards establishing an early signing period, according to the NCAA official who manages the National Letter of Intent program, Susan Peel. NCAA Associate Director Operations said, "I think everyone wants an early signing period. It's just trying to nail down what's the appropriate date for that, which will be interesting to see. And for people that don't understand, it's the National Signing Day that happens in February. That I love watching. I watch it all day long from 8 a.m. to what's basically it could be all night because we always see these players, getting their letters of intent late, and it's crazy. But anyways, instead of having it in February, try to move it up. I think they compared it to what basketball does right now, which I don't even know basketball's National Signing Day. I think it's before the season starts for high school basketball. But anyways, they're trying to move it up so that way, it's easier for the schools. But I wonder what's going to do to the athletes that waiting. Some have a valid excuse to wait and see what their grades are for the second semester. But it'll be interesting to see what they'll do by moving it up. And that's about it for college football news. Now we'll switch over to the NFL, which free agency is Tuesday. Is 3 Eastern is when it starts, and that means it's going to get crazy, especially as we get closer and closer to the time. And as you've seen, there's already been people leaving teams and getting picked up. Players already now signing off waivers, and including to that list is Cardinals have signed tight end former Viking John Carson to a 2-year deal, and also Cowboys have released Phil Costa. And are working on other contracts to get under the salary cap. They have a huge issue, and what they're going to do with DeMarcus Ware. He wants to stay, but he also knows that if he wants his money. He wants his money, and to be honest, he's the only thing working on that Cowboys defense, as we've seen the past few years. So what he's going to do with that? Should he stay as a Cowboy? But he's only going to stay if he gets the money he wants. He says he will take a pay cut, but it doesn't seem like it's that much of a pay cut to take. And the Cowboys are willing to let him go and test the free agency market. And obviously he's going to get a pretty solid contract where he goes. So really everything is in favor for DeMarcus Ware. And the Cowboys are kind of in that situation where do we keep him? Do we spend that extra money that we don't really have just to make sure he's on our roster and doesn't go to Philadelphia, Washington, 49ers? I'm just bringing up teams out of my mind right now to see where he goes. So it's an interesting thing that we'll keep looking at till free agency comes. But also Johnny Manziel, potential first pick overall, obviously a first rounder, signs with Nike, and that's his endorsement now. He's now part of Nike brand. They didn't release how much money it's going to be, but apparently it's a multi-year deal that will be and he will be the highest price paid for a rookie in his class. So it's going to be a pretty solid contract. But once that news comes out, I will break it down on my Facebook page, which you guys can go look at. And that's on Facebook, The Short Sports Show. Give it a like while you are there. That's a self-plug. But anyways, other news is my San Diego Chargers were one of 26 NFL teams to go see my TCU team pro day. That was yesterday. And multiple mock drafts. They have cornerback Jason Verrett going to San Diego with the 25th overall pick. And I'm okay with that. last time San Diego selected a TCU player in the first round, which was the only time, and that was LT, and he did a pretty solid job in San Diego. But if the Chargers, which we are desperately in need of a cornerback, a defensive back, Jason Verrett would obviously be a great pick because I've seen him the 2 years that he was at TCU, and we all now heard of him, what he's done at his combine and his pro day. He did excellent in both, running a 4.38 and other news and other things like that. He's done really, really good. But Jason Verrett, was with other teams as well. He worked out for the Carolina Panthers today. He also met with Cleveland Browns after his pro day workout yesterday, and the Bengals defensive back coach put Verrett through his own individual workout. And that scares me a little bit because the Bengals have the 24th overall pick while the Chargers have the 25th. And other mock drafts are also saying that Bengals are going to go for a defensive back, and who's ever left as the best one. And it's going. I know they have Justin Gilbert going as the top cornerback, which I greatly disapprove of or disagree with. And then the Michigan State cornerback, who I really like as well, along with Verrett. Can't think of his first name. I know his last name is Denard. And then there's another cornerback from, I believe, Ohio State that's up there as well. But anyways, I hope Bengals get someone else, and hopefully it's, I don't know, some other position, because Chargers need a cornerback, and if Jason Verrett's there, I'm okay with that. I know he's 5'9", but he's obviously been against the best wide receivers in college football with the past 2 years that Baylor's had, Terrence Williams, and I think Josh Gordon was gone before. Yeah, Josh Gordon was gone before Jason Verrett got there. But he's been against Odell Beckham Jr. of LSU, Jarvis Landry, Oklahoma's wide receivers that they've had, and so on and so forth. He's been paired against the best and has done a great job holding wide receivers to very low, their minimum that they've ever had in college, throughout their games, throughout their years. So anyways, Jason Verrett, I hope he does go to San Diego, because that would be awesome to see. And I buy his jersey. I'd buy it. Anyways, yesterday, former Browns linebacker DeQuell Jackson signed with the Indianapolis Colts with a 4-year deal worth $22 million, including $11 million guaranteed. The 30-year-old will be paired up with 33-year-old, not Dwight Freeney, Robert Mathis, who had 19.5 sacks last year, which is crazy. He's still able to produce. And Jackson has made 96 starts in 8 seasons with the Browns, and has led the Browns with 139 tackles last year, and has had 418 tackles since 2011, which is the 4th most by any player in that span, which is just crazy to think of. But Jackson will greatly improve the Colts defense. I mean, anything right now would help the Colts play defense. But Jackson should do a very good job and post another 100-plus tackle season, obviously hoping without any injuries. And other news, Chicago Bears will not re-sign wide receiver / kick returner Devin Hester, saying, quote, this is what Devin Hester had to say. All I can say is thanks to the fans for their support. They've always been great to me, always been loyal. I couldn't have played for a better city than those guys. At the end of my career, I do want to retire as a member of the Bears, end quote. And which obviously gives a sign of saying, hey, he's not done. He still wants to play he still wants to play for the Bears, but he's still going to play at the end of the day. If it's not the Bears, he's still going to move on with another team. But former Bears linebacker Brian Urlacher said a really good quote. And this is what he said, saying, quote, look at what the Steelers have done the last couple of days, signing Troy Polamalu and Heath Miller and some older guys to a couple more years just so they can retire as a Steeler. The Bears could do that with Devin. He should retire as a Bear. He set all those records in a Bears uniform, and his number 23 jersey should be retired one day in Chicago. But Hester, later. I don't think he hasn't responded to what Urlacher said, but Urlacher, that's true. I mean, look at what the Steelers have done. Palomalu slipped off a little bit. Miller slipped off. And some of the other guys, I'm sure, have slipped off as well because we've seen how the Steelers have played. But it was a great comparison saying that this is what they should have done. And I think he's even saying about himself, saying that, they should have done this with me. But, with Devin Hester, should have kept him there again. Because Devin Hester has done a lot. Even though he's placed the wide receiver position, we think, his wide receiving stats haven't really been that good. But we all know Devin Hester as the kick returner. The opening kickoff to the Super Bowl against the Colts, where he returned it 92 yards, took it to the house. The records that he's broken. And for people younger, playing Madden, Devin Hester, don't kick to him. We always hear that. So, I believe that's what they should have done. But Hester did say he has interest in a reunion with former Bears coach Lovie Smith in Tampa Bay, saying, quote, "I look at Lovie as my number one coach right now because he's the one that took the chance on me coming out the draft. He has all my respect, so if there's a guy that is going to shoot at me and want me to come play with him again, my arms are wide open." So right there, he's saying, just give me a call, Smith. Lovey, just give me a call, and I promise you I'm going to be down there, and I'm going to go out and work. And I think, right now, that makes the most sense. Out of any team right now, unless some team offers him a bunch of money, which I highly doubt, I think Tampa Bay is where we're going to see Devin Hester wearing a 23 jersey. Because I don't think anybody wears 23 that is a main star. But anyways, that'll be interesting, a reunion with them. Include talking about reunions, the Jacksonville Jaguars and quarterback Chad Henne have agreed to a 2-year deal to keep him there. So it's not really a reunion, it's just keeping him. But either way, he's not going anywhere. And apparently tomorrow, Henne could have begun negotiations with other teams. So that's most likely why they signed him to a 2-year contract. Chad Henne has started 13 games last season, threw for 3,400 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 14 interceptions. But he also led the Jacksonville Jaguars to a 4-4 record. So, yippee, but still it's Chad Henne. And I don't think, with news of him re-signing with the Jacksonville Jaguars, that doesn't mean Jacksonville with the third pick in the draft isn't going to select a quarterback. I think they still do. And you guys can see who I said in my own mock draft that I have, my top 10 mock draft, which is on YouTube. Just type in the Short Sports Show. You'll find it. It's the latest video that I've posted. It's my top 10 mock draft that I did. And let me know what you think. And if your team, is that what you want your team to select? So check it out over there in the Short Sports Show on YouTube. Other news, New Orleans Saints will release wide receiver Lance Moore after 9 seasons. And to be honest with you, I hope my Chargers go after Lance Moore. I think he could still produce at a very good rate. He might be cheap. I don't know where he's wanting money at. I know the Saints also have a cap, somewhat of a cap issue. So getting him would help put a veteranship because we might also lose Malcolm Floyd. So the Chargers, if they can go after Lance Moore, I think that would help San Diego with the wide receiving thing. But also there's so many wide receivers in the draft, and it might not really matter. It might make more sense to just draft a younger, cheaper receiver than getting Lance Moore. But if you draft someone that you need offensive line, defensive line help, might help us more. And also getting Lance Moore because you know what he can do. So that's something to keep in mind. But the most interesting news in the NFL has come out, and that was when Vikings running back Adrian Peterson said he is interested in the team bringing Michael Vick to Minnesota to be the team's starter, saying on Twitter, which you can follow Adrian Peterson at Adrian Peterson, and this is what he had to say, quote, at Michael Vick, would instantly make the Vikings a playoff team, end quote. Michael Vick turns 34 in June, and Vikings general manager said that due to the tampering rules, he wasn't allowed to comment on Vick, but he said when adding a high-profile player, the Vikings examined how they would affect the team's culture, and so on and so forth. So he is, he can't really talk about it, but he is saying, we're going to look at Vick, and, I I think that'd be interesting. I really think that would be cool to see Michael Vick wearing the number 7 uniform in purple with Adrian Peterson. I think that'd be awesome to watch. There's 2 things I'm going to say about this. Is one, Michael Vick hasn't played a full season since 2006. He turns 34 in June. Just remember that. So he is older now, and we've seen him. He just can't play a full season, which really isn't his fault. Some guys are just injury prone. He's not weak. It doesn't mean he's not tough enough to stay in games, because we all know Michael Vick. We know he's tough. If he could play through it, he would. But numbers don't lie. 16 games, a full season, once. 2006 was the only time. But I would like to see Michael Vick go there, but I don't think that would make them a, quote, instant playoff team. I mean, look at the division they're in. You got the Packers, who obviously are at top right now at that division. The Lions, if they can finally do something called closing, that would probably, that pushes them still up there. Chicago Bears are, same team up and down. So I could put them at 3rd, could put them at 4th, but also you could put them at the 2nd spot, maybe a wild card or something. But the Vikings, they also have the same potential. They get some more defensive help. And what they're going to do with Jason, of course, can't think of the last name. You guys know who I'm talking about. But anyways, what they're going to do there, and obviously they need a quarterback, and that's been they haven't had a good quarterback since Brett Favre. And it's pretty sad. And have you guys seen the picture of Brett Favre? Wow, that is, he's changed. He is changed. But anyways, that's not the point. Michael Vick, I would love to see him go to Minnesota. I hope he goes to Minnesota. I hope he plays for the Vikings. I hope he can play an entire season. I hope he can take them to the playoffs. But if he does sign with them, do I think he takes them to the playoff? Obviously, it's way too soon to, actually know whether they would make the playoffs. But honestly, I don't think they would. Even if Michael Vick has a pretty solid season, you got to look at the Lions. If they improved on defense, and we already know how their defensive line is set, get it some secondary help, and their offense can score a ton of points. Lions could be a dangerous team. Packers, we all know, Aaron Rodgers. That's all you have to say. Their defense, you're going to be able to score on them. They need a lot more help. So, but it's still Aaron Rodgers. He's the man out there. Bears, I'm not really worried about them. So, you're kind of stuck at that area because of those 2 other teams being pretty solid. But I think it'd be very, very interesting to see Michael Vick wearing a Minnesota uniform. So let me know what you guys think if Michael Vick does go there. Jacksonville is also interested. There's another team. Was it Cleveland? Probably. Cleveland's such in a mess right now. They'll probably talk to Brett Favre anyways to come back. Anyways, now moving on to Major League Baseball news. And first we will talk about Arizona Diamondbacks pitcher Bronson Arroyo is expected to miss 7 to 10 days after receiving epidural injection for an inflamed disc in his back Wednesday. He was scratched off and, should be okay, but they're, just taking precautions on it. Make sure, he's all right. And some sad news. Now, most people have not heard of this pitcher, and but you most likely will as we get a little closer to baseball, and especially if you're a Red Sox fan, you have already heard. And this is some sad news, and not going to lie, I got a little watery-eyed because it's pretty sad. But Red Sox relieving pitcher Rich Hill, who arrived at spring training Wednesday night after staying in Boston due to medical issues with his infant son. He told reporters Thursday that his son had died, saying, quote, "We had a son on December 26. He was born with multiple issues that we confronted and had to deal with as we were moving through the last couple months at Mass General. Unfortunately, he has passed. He has taught us a lot of things, and unfortunately, things didn't work out." Hill has signed a minor league contract with the Red Sox during the offseason so he could remain close to his family. And, that was really sad to hear that he had to go through that. For anybody to go through that was sad. But, trying to pick a positive out of it is hard, but I guess the positive thing out of it is that he's with the right team. And when I say that is, well, Boston, the city of Boston had to go through, and, you know, the hashtag of Boston Strong. The Boston Red Sox fans are going to, you know, after hearing this story, knowing who this guy is, and if, you know, Rich Hill can play like he can play and make a spot on the team, you know, they're going to be, and even if he doesn't make the team, they're still going to be so supportive of him and help him get back on his feet, I guess you can say, because, you know, it's Boston Strong. So anyways, that was something I wanted to talk about, and it was sad, and it is sad. But anyways, prayers go out to Rich Hill and his family, and all that stuff. So anyways, moving on, Manny Ramirez. This is, now we can take a pot. Well, not a pot, but I guess a funny sort of thing. Anyways, Manny Ramirez has set up his own training camp at a community park in the Miami area to get back to the MLB. The 41-year-old has not played in the majors since 2011 and won a second suspension for violating an anti-doping, I can't read, program forced him to quit baseball. He signed minor league agreements with the Oakland A's and the Texas Rangers the past 2 seasons, but both times he requested his release after not being summoned to the majors, which makes you think, look, if you basically just quit both of those times. You took an opportunity that thousands of people would take to sign an agreement and play for either the Oakland A's or the Texas Rangers, and because you didn't get what you wanted and to get moved up because your name's Manny Ramirez and what you did in the past, you quit. So why would a team, especially now after being gone for 2 entire seasons, not knowing, you know, what you're still like, if you still have it, which most likely at 41 years old you don't have it, and it shows your commitment. If you think you're going to you get back and within the season you say, I want to get called up in September, and if at that point you're not called up, you're just going to quit again, then why are they going to want to pay you when the contracts are guaranteed? You know, that's just it's benefiting him, but it's not benefiting the team. And so the teams are going to question how committed you are, but obviously I really don't think a team is going to be seriously look at him other than probably the Houston Astros or the Miami Marlins, because he's already in the Miami area. They could just say, hey, let's try you out. If not, Houston Astros, they need to sell some tickets. Why not call Manny Ramirez and say, hey, help us out. We'll start you game, you know, opening day. Highly doubt it. I'm just saying, just poking fun. But anyways, Manny Ramirez, good luck on coming back. Also, San Diego Padres outfielder Cameron Maybin met with doctors yesterday and decided not to have surgery on his left biceps tendon. Might be able to return in 4 to 6 weeks after allowing the injury to heal and then going through some rehab, which is a lot better news than being told before that it would take 2 to 4 months to get back. And also the general manager of the Padres said that he thought he was out for the season when the injury happened in the spring training game. So hopefully, even though, you know, I don't really look at the Padres and the Dodgers as a rivalry. I know it's LA, San Diego, and with the fight that Carlos Quentin had with my Dodgers, which I've lost all respect for Carlos Quentin, but that's another story. Anyways, I really like Cameron Maybin, and I hope that he can get to a speedy recovery and perform for the Padres. Plus, you know, he scored some runs, and that would be nice with fantasy baseball getting closer to starting. Pick him up midway through the season, see what he can do, and help me win. Anyways, Washington Nationals pitcher Doug Fister was scratched from his scheduled start today against the Houston Astros because of inflammation in his elbow. But the Nationals manager Matt Williams said that there's nothing. We're not concerned, but at the same time, we're not going to take any chances. We'll push him back a couple days just to make sure everything's all right. But you know, people want to see how he's going to be able to play for the Nationals. But anyways, he was scratched today. And moving on, I told you guys I would talk about it. I rarely talk about basketball, but we might get, you know, a little bit closer to start talking about some basketball news. And first thing we'll talk about is Denver Nuggets point guard Nate Robinson all 5'6", whatever he's 5'11", 5'10", whatever he is, who is out for the rest of the season after suffering a torn ACL in his left knee in January, says that he will exercise his player's option and return to the team next season. He's due to make $2.1 million next season. Also, the Clippers dominated the Lakers with a 48-point win last night. Blake Griffin finished with 20 points, 11 rebounds, and 7 assists. And 7 assists. The Clippers outscored the Lakers 44-13 in the second quarter. And all I have to say is, Kobe, hurry up, dude. Hurry up and get out there. I mean, and you probably wouldn't do too much anyways when you're back because you're still kind of just not all there with shooting and everything. But anyways, Lakers, what is going on? I would have never thought ever. Now I don't pay too much attention to basketball, but, and I know this might not mean a lot to some of you that are listening because I don't really talk about basketball, but I would have never thought ever that I would ever see the Lakers be as bad as they are with or without Kobe. I would have never thought. I would have thought they'd been more prepared for life without Kobe and being able to perform, but obviously not. And I don't know what's going to happen. Kobe, if you're just smart, I know you love LA. The Lakers have done a lot for you. Dude, just leave next season. You can buy out your contract. You're good. You don't need it. You got plenty of money. You're going to make $20 million probably already this year. Just leave. Just leave, dude. Go to a team you can win a championship. Get to Michael Jordan's record at 6 rings. And go with LeBron. Go play with LeBron. Oh, my God. Everybody wants to see a Kobe and LeBron team up. We'll never see it. We will never, ever see it. Other than probably the Olympics. And that was probably the last time, whenever that was. But, God, Kobe, LeBron playing for, like, the LA Clippers. That would be something. No, I know it never happened, but that would be awesome to see. Anyways, speaking of LeBron, there he goes complaining. And, it's whatever. But because I know, some Heat fans or, quote, Heat fans will say, well, we still won the championship last year, blah, blah, blah. But anyways, Tim Duncan's 23 points and 11 rebounds led the Spurs to a 111-87 win over the Miami Heat last night, and hopefully ending the bad memories of last season's finals. Now, most Spurs fans, probably have already gotten over the finals. Me, as a Spurs fan, again, I don't pay too much attention to basketball, but I've still not gotten over the bad memories of last year's finals and Ray Allen's 3-point, even though he's kind of out of bounds, and Tim Duncan not making an easy hook shot that he makes about every game, every season. Anyways, Manu Ginobili came out, said a great quote. He finished with 6 points and 4 assists. Said, quote, we needed a game like this. We've been talking about it all season long. Our record is probably 1-10, 1-8, something like that, against the top 4 teams in the league. So we needed a big one, and today we played well. It's one of those wins that really gets you going, end quote. And that's what I like to hear, because when I try to talk, and the Spurs fans, quote, my family, I try to say, hey, look, I'm not dissing the Spurs or anything, but yeah, the record is 45-16 right now, and that's awesome. That's great. And obviously the regular season means nothing, but you're one, and like, and just like Ginobili said, I don't really know their exact record, but this is now their second win overall against a top quality team, and it's like, this is what happens. This is, your team is probably not all the way there for the playoffs, because yeah, you can beat everybody else, but if you can't beat a top quality team, aka the Heat, Clippers, Golden State, the Thunder, whoever else is good, you can't beat those teams, you're not going to win in the playoffs, and that's what matters. But Spurs fans. Anyways, but it's really good that Spurs got the victory over the Heat, and hopefully that gets them over the hump and being able to win these teams against top teams, quality teams, giving them motivation to step forward and win, because that's what we need. And also, the major news that came out today was New York Knicks president and general manager Steve Mills met with Phil Jackson apparently about 2 weeks ago and talked about the possibility of Jackson becoming the team's next head coach. And they got shot down. The Knicks, Phil Jackson told the Knicks that he was not interested in the position at this time. And wow. Actually, it's not really a wow, because Knicks are 18 games under 500, 5.5 games out of 8th spot for the playoffs. But I wonder if Phil Jackson set this, seeing what the Lakers are going to do. Does he want to return back to the Lakers? What is he going to do with, are the Knicks a valid option to go to? Now, personally, I don't think he wanted to go to the Knicks anyways. But it's so hard to read Phil Jackson and whether he really wants to come back to coaching, or is he just kind of just trying to get his name out there or something, just for publicity or something. Because right now, it's so Phil Jackson is becoming like a Brett Favre. How Brett Favre was whether I'm going to come back and play, or am I going to retire? I might come back for the right team, and it's just like it gets annoying. It gets annoying after a while, because it's like, are you really interested in coming back and coaching, or are you just messing with teams and because he says no to the Lakers, Lakers said no to him, but still he said, he probably wouldn't have come back. And then now he's saying no to the Knicks. It's, what are you going to do? And that's what I want to hear from you guys that are, that know basketball probably more than me, most likely do. But what do you think Phil Jackson will do? Does he return to coaching for the 2014 season? If he does, where does he go? And what do you think? What do you think? And that will cap today's show, as we have hit 1,000 total listens. Thank you guys so much. That is awesome. I can't wait for 1,000 more, and so on and so forth. But anyways, guys, thank you for listening. Next show will be Monday morning. Follow me on Twitter at @short_sports 24/7. Also, become a fan on Facebook, The Short Sports Show. The link is in the description down below. If you're listening on YouTube, click that like button, subscribe, favorite, share while you are there. If you're on iHeartRadio, same thing, like, favorite, comment, share while you are there. And if you're listening on Spreaker.com, same thing, like, comment, and share. It's all that good stuff. But again, thank you guys so much for the support. We're going to keep going. The Short Sports Show is growing, and it is awesome. Thank you guys. And I will see you guys Monday morning. God first, God bless. I am out.